Richard Lonsdale, Chairman of the Planning Commission. I call the meeting to order. Today is Tuesday, April 15th, 2025, and it is 4:00 p.m. Staff, please take roll call.
Commissioner Richard Lonsdale.
Here.
Commissioner Bob Howard.
Here.
Commissioner John Graver is excused. Commissioner Ann Warman. Here. Commissioner Dana Allen. Here. Commissioner David Johnstone.
Here.
And Commissioner Christopher Lay said he will be attending, so he's probably just running a few minutes late.
All right. Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Hey, has everybody had an opportunity to read the attached minutes? Yeah. Is there a motion for approval?
I'll make a motion to approve our minutes from the last meeting.
Second.
Okay, approved.
Can you ask if all are in favor?
Oh, all in favor? Excuse me.
Aye.
All opposed? Nay. Okay, staff, is there any communication?
Just a couple things. Just a reminder that on May 13th, there will be a joint city council planning commission meeting. At that meeting, we're going to have 3 consultants who are helping us with various things with our comp plan. So we'll have a consultant who you've seen before from Confluence talking about the climate work. We will have our consultant from SCJ Alliance.
It's Georgia.
Yep. Just wait a second. So the consultant from SCJ Alliance will be talking about the transportation portion of the comp plan update. We thought that would be a good one for kind of kill 2 birds with 1 stone, because there's always interest in what's going on with transportation in Neon. So, and the third well, not consultant, actually, it's a representative from Thurston Regional Planning Council. Will be here to talk about the housing work that they did on our behalf. It's called a housing allocation that was required as part of House Bill 1220 to look at what the basic goals of the city should be over the next 20 years to achieve various levels of affordable housing. So those are kind of the 3 biggest elements in the comp plan update this year. They're probably the most important because they have the most new legislation that we have to address going forward. Okay. Second, next month, we expect to bring you a draft chapter of our housing element. So that's kind of what we're going to try to tee up, and we'll try to get you a copy of that draft a week before the planning commission meeting for you to have a chance to look it over.
Okay, and now that's going to be the part that's going with the comprehensive plan. So that's going to be in conjunction with the housing plan that was done, what was it, last year?
Housing action plan. Yeah, so this will draw on the housing action plan, and then a lot of the other stuff, like the thing I just mentioned that TRPC did for us for the housing allocation. There's a lot of overlap between the housing action plan and the housing element, so you'll see a lot of repeated information that'll go in there. And that's all I have.
All right. Number 6, public comments. If anybody in the audience would like to address the commission, comments are limited to 3 minutes and 5 speakers. Comment on the matters listed on the agenda are welcome. If there's anyone who wants to comment, ask them to come to the podium, state name, address for the record. Okay, there is none. The staff, is there any unfinished business from the last meeting?
No.
New business. Staff report on any new business?
Other than what we're going to discuss today, no.
Okay. At this time, I would like to make a motion to insert on future agendas to where did I put my to insert a agenda review in accordance with conduct of business, item number 5, to ensure that there's no conflict of interest of any commissioner in the meeting on agenda items. We've been unfortunately missing that. So as we go through, then when we get to where the approval of looking at the agenda, then we can ask if there's any conflict of interest of any commissioner of any agenda item, then we can include that. So I'd like to make a motion to have that included in the future. Any second first?
Any discussion? So how would we determine conflict of interest?
Okay, under conflict of conduct of business, item number 5, it says it should be, let's see, conflict of interest, particular matter, let's see, public list opportunity. It's basically if, I guess the thing is that, say, like if we're probably discussing, you know, some type of development, and you're one of the developers, maybe to where you're personally involved in that action. Gary, please correct me if I'm wrong, but
There's lots of different examples. Like a
No,
rezone that could benefit you personally.
I understand what a conflict of interest is. I'm just trying to understand what our process will be to determine whether or not that's there, because that sounds self-reported, so.
well, I don't think so, but the according to conduct of business, which all of the commissioners should have gotten, which I didn't realize this when I came up that and I missed this when I became a commissioner, is that this is actually something that's supposed to be included
Okay,
in the agenda and discussing this, and it hasn't been.
okay.
Which leads to my second part is that to where I believe that the conduct of business and the rules of procedure are outdated and they need to be updated. But like I said, is that this part specifically conflict of interest is being missed, which is where I'm making the motion to have it included.
Okay.
So we can get that covered. So we'll finish this part and then I've actually got another motion that I'm gonna make. So does that answer the discussion portion?
Yeah.
Okay. All in favor of the motion for including that in future agendas?
Right.
Point of order, there needs to be a second.
Okay.
Oh, a second?
I'll second.
Yes.
Okay.
Second.
All right, then. Okay, I'm gonna do a second motion that I would like to establish a working group with the planning commission to revise the rules of procedure and conduct of business. I don't know, to my knowledge, all of the commissioners have received these documents when they were appointed. And if not, we can get those to you, but it came to my attention that they're dated. So we'd like to get these updated so we can make sure that we're doing things accordingly. But I'd like to establish, you know, like a working session to where we can, you know, mesh brain pans and come up with an updated procedure.
That.
Okay. And I guess okay, so is there
What's the second?
second on,
A second.
okay, and then all in favor?
Wait, this
One.
moment, I'd like discussion for just a second.
Okay.
If that's okay. Question that I have is, for our working group, we need to consider that we are limited in meetings outside of this meeting to not violate the quorum rules.
Mhm.
And so we would need to establish the size of that working group to be less than a quorum. And I believe if don't know, Hazel, what is a quorum for?
Yeah, four.
But,
It's a working session that's on record.
but
Exempt.
if it's a working group, though, I mean, to have everybody involved, I mean, it can be a quorum, can't it? I mean, because it's,
As long as it's.
Well, if it's announced as an actual meeting. It'd have to be an open public meeting if you
Yeah.
had more than a quorum.
Right.
So we just have our study session here.
okay, yeah, I mean. Yeah, I mean, personally, I don't mind if it's, I mean, I believe in
It should be, yeah.
transparency, so,
It has to be, so
So-
yeah.
I mean,
So we could do it as a study session and then we could have a full quorum and not have to have a limit
yeah,
on it.
okay, I mean, that would.
Our
So,
study
You
session.
could actually just put it on the agenda for as part of a regular meeting, depending on how much time you know, you could work on it over several meetings and bits and pieces if you need to.
okay,
So
well, I think that would work. I mean, just so long as it's in process,
yeah,
you know, so, okay, I think that would work.
I think that the formality of a session here doesn't allow as much just discussion and the parliamentary rules that
Mhm.
that we go through would limit the working groups. That now, if you have a working group, you could actually have it here, but just not have it as a planning station meeting. I'm concerned about blending the two because of the parliamentary requirements
Right,
that occur for the planning commission meetings.
how does the city council do their working groups to where they can, you know, just have the open discussion without the requirement of the parliamentary?
well, they have one work session a month. It's not a voting decision-making session, so I think that that's probably, you know, it's a more informal, they sit around I think you might have been to one. So it's not a regular meeting, not a decision-making.
Right.
So,
Is it open to the public?
yeah,
I think, yeah, that's the only way around it.
So you do not conform to the parliamentary structure during that working session?
I'll be honest with you, I've only been to one of their study sessions, so I don't know what their formal procedures are, what discussions they've had around that.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what, I'll do some digging and find out what the rules are. And then at the next meeting, then, you know, we can go from there.
I mean, I know how these processes work a lot of times is the planning commission kind of agrees on like a subset or a little working group that kind of goes away and puts together a proposed draft of something, then brings it back to the commission as a whole in a regular meeting. And then it can be discussed and voted on.
Okay, my concern about that, though, is that I know that there's some that I would just want to make sure that everybody has a voice in, you know, redrafting these, so that, you know, rather than going over here, a couple of us, you know, doing that and then coming back and saying, okay, well, what do you think about this? But I would just kind of like to have everybody's, you know, input and kind of go from there. So, but like I said, I'll, you know, find out from, you know, some of the city staff as far as, you know, what some of the requirements are, and then, you know, we'll kind of pick it back up at the next meeting. If
If
that's
you have any questions along those lines, just contact Kathy Lennemeyer.
right. Yeah. She's who I was thinking about talking to. So,
I'd be willing to go on and pass the motion. And then we come back and we refine it later so that we can actually
okay, get it on
get
record.
it on record. Would that be?
Okay, that was, David, did you have another?
Just a
thing?
quick question. So what exactly are our requirements? So if we meet and we're a quorum or larger, that meeting needs to be announced and recorded, right? Those are the two main requirements.
Yeah, I mean, it constitutes an actual meeting and it's subject to the Open Public Meetings Act, so.
I'm sorry, and that's where I was talking about getting with the city clerk, talking to her about what our actual requirements are, and then once I find that out.
Okay.
Then we'll come back again and that way we know for sure what our requirements are. But what Ann was suggesting is just doing the vote. Passing, saying, yeah, we're gonna, get together, and get these rewritten, but in the meantime, we're gonna get with, city staff and find out what the exact requirements are. And then we'll follow up with it from there.
So I have a question then. So once we determine the actual requirements, what's the timetable that we're looking at to have it finalized, rewritten and finalized?
I don't know, I don't have a
No hard
rule, I don't have a hard, it's just a matter of that, it just needs to be done. And I'm not sure when it was, because there's no date on the documents. So I don't know when they were last done. But it's just the fact that they do need to be updated. So, I mean, I would say, what, next 6 months, maybe. It's kind of a odd.
If I recall, those rules of procedure go back to 2014.
So I mean, there's a number of things that I've seen that were actually outdated, so.
When I came on board in 2018, within a short order of time, I was given some documents and a thumb drive. And I still have that thumb drive, but that administration wanted me to know what I was getting into. And on that thumb drive, it gave specific procedures, the do's, the don'ts of what the planning commission can do. And so I still have that, and it wouldn't hurt me either to review it and get myself refreshed. But maybe that's something, if nobody else has one, I have it, maybe I could give it to Hazel and she could get some duplicates made, give you guys an opportunity to get a look at it. Because I remembered it was pretty specific on what we needed to do, and it also will tie into the class we just took.
Yeah, I mean, we'd be happy to see what's on it. Hazel does send out, can you?
Not that I want to create more work for Hazel, but I'm not sure what the procedure would be.
All the new commissioners do get a packet, to welcome them with the rules of procedures, let me look and see everything, there's a lot of stuff in it.
Yeah, I have it open. The 2017 comprehensive plan, conduct of business. The copy of open public meetings, RCW 4230, RCW 42.32 meetings, RCW 42.36 appearance of fairness doctrine, recommended staff procedure, rules of procedure, Title 18 UDC, vision plan, and welcome to the commission.
There's a revision plan on there.
Yes.
The welcome to the commission, I think, is the one that Bob's talking about, but that's kind of the like 20 or 30 page document.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's pretty lengthy.
The one that I know.
See if you've got anything on there that she doesn't already.
Yeah, no, she got more.
Send it out to you.
Yeah,
So,
I
okay,
wasn't new, so I didn't get any of these things, but I've been collecting them over the.
I can forward it to you. Can you
Well,
have a first copy?
I promised that I would go through everything I've got to see if what I actually have.
Okay.
But I would appreciate that. If you can send it to me electronically, or at least I could compare and see if I really got all the same things.
Yeah, I will email it.
2009 was a long time ago.
Yeah, well, you can just make it easy and I'll send it fresh.
yeah, hey, Hazel, if you could please, the older members, I mean, me being the newest. So, with Bob, myself, John and Ann, you can send that to us because everybody else probably has the new version, so.
After the meeting, I'll just add all 4 of you to an email and send it out.
Okay, appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, any further discussion on,
I don't believe there was there a second?
I thought I was gonna do the second on, find out if there was any more discussion and then I thought we had to do that after making sure there was no more discussion.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, you can ask if there's any more discussion and then make a second.
Okay, so no further discussion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, so Karen, we'll pick that up on the next meeting then.
We're gonna vote.
Yeah.
on this
Oh,
one.
yeah, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, motion carried. Okay, number 9, public hearing, there is none. Subcommittee reports, any,
Oh, we didn't do the no,
Climate
new
menu.
business prime, the climate menu discussion that Gary was gonna do.
oh, I'm sorry, I was looking at the wrong thing. Okay, Gary, I'm sorry, I missed you. On the discussion for potential climate menu measures.
Yes, okay, so this last month, you got the list of potential measures, and then we took the first stab at kind of ranking them. Clayton is gonna be the lead on this, so I'm gonna kind of let him take over. I think the point of this meeting was to get your feedback to see if there are some things that need to be elevated or de-elevated. Following that, we're gonna take these away. Probably won't see them again for a while because we'll be trying to put them into a draft chapter for the comp plan. You'll at a later date, so have the opportunity to review them, vote on them, discuss them, but it just gives us enough framework to be able to actually put together a draft chapter for this one. So that's where Clayton's gonna come in. He's really organizing this. He's been the lead on processing the grant, for this. And similarly, next month, when we present the housing, Andrew's the lead for that chapter, so he'll be sitting here talking about the draft chapter we put together there. So with that, I think we kind of just want to hear from you, and I'll let Clayton open his ears.
Actually, a request for perhaps Christopher and myself. Could I get just a really brief synopsis of like our goals for the comprehensive plan update and like a little timeline? Understand where we're going for.
So the comp plan, so every 10 years, we have to do a comprehensive update. But that doesn't mean that we have to change everything in the plan. The comprehensive, there could be chapters where we feel we don't need to change anything. You look at it and go, this is as good as it was the last time we updated it. The bare minimum that we have to do is address any legislation that's been passed between the last update and now. We have, the Department of Commerce gives us a update checklist that we go through each chapter. And it'll tell you which legislation is out there, what the basic requirements are. So we use that to go back through our comp plan. Sometimes we've already done, even before the legislation was adopted, certain things. But the bottom line is to make sure it's consistent with Washington state law. And two, that it reflects, community's values, that it's a Yelm comp plan. It reflects the kind of things we want to see happen here in Yelm. That's outside of the legal requirements. That's more about what the community wants. And then as far as the timeline, comp plan is supposed to be adopted by December 30th of this year.
So,
Question?
yes, but I guess to further on, add to that. So what's the goal for the planning commission to get some recommendations to the city council before that, presumably?
So what we're doing is we're kind of going step by step. There are, I think, there are about 10 different chapters in the comp plan. And what we're going to be doing here is basically reviewing each chapter one at a time. And then we're gonna, after that review, bring them back together as a proposed comp plan. And the planning commission then votes to recommend approval of the comp plan. Hopefully. And if you do that, then it goes to city council and they vote whether or not to adopt it.
So we want to
So
definitely do that.
we're right here really drafting the comp plan for the city council.
We want to get that done before November, I'm guessing, before October. presumably.
That's what it sounds like. It sounds like there needs to be at least a month before, if not 2 months, because we have meetings.
Right.
Yeah.
They need to review
I
it.
will say this, and of course, I'm not intentionally gonna try to miss a deadline, but if for whatever reason it gets held up by environmental review or scheduling or something like that, Commerce has like 300 comp plans to review, so they're not gonna come knocking on our door. So, but definitely we want to get it done by December 30th.
If I'm not mistaken, having a discussion with a couple members of the city council, I think that we had talked about potentially doing a joint meeting on the comprehensive plan as well, just for, I mean, one, to further, you know, I mean, I know we're having the combined working group in May, but just because of the fact that there's going to be so many parts of the comprehensive plan, by working together, that it can potentially create an easier outcome for the final approval of it versus, you know, us going through trying to figure stuff out. And then since it's going to be such a large document, and then that way sending it to them, that there may be some parts that we may need to work through and explaining why this section's like this.
Yeah.
But
Well,
I mean,
that is
just as
one reason why we chose the elements that we did for the May 13th meeting, because those are probably the elements where the most working out might need to be done. We have other elements in the comp plan that I don't think anybody's going to take too much issue with, like the capital facilities plan, which is essentially just a list of the capital projects that we expect to try to complete over the next 20 years. And there's the utilities chapter. There may be some input on economic development. We right now have the previous comp plan chapter on economic development out to the Chamber of Commerce to get their input, see what they think. I think, of course, housing is a big one. The climate's a big one, transportation a big one. Those are the three that we're going to really focus on. So, of course, you know, as we get down the road, if we want to do another joint meeting, then we should. Yeah, I think kind of want to see how it plays out here over the next few months.
I'm sorry.
Question after you.
I was just gonna say plus two, seeing how the meeting in May goes.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
I know you said that the other sections, you're pretty much taking what was there in the prior comp plan and just moving it forward. Let's say for the capital project plan, the capital plan, that has been updated on a regular basis because of other significant efforts like the Central Business District plans and revisions added certain projects to that that were 10 years out. Are you taking all of the information that is out there and compiling it together? Or I'm just asking what I should think about weeding through and.
Yeah, I mean, we're updating all of the capital facilities projects based on roads projects, based on, you know, for example, the next water tower we planned, but the things that we have actually planned to construct over the next 20 years that are city projects.
Right, including the bridge over the bicycle bridge.
I'd have to go look at the list. I had Pat and Brad help me put together the list of their projects over the next 20 years. So I'd be surprised if it's not in.
I just need to know whether do we need to dive down to that level of detail since we're gonna be mostly focused on these other things.
Yeah, I mean, because that's something that I mean, the capital facilities list is something that should be staff generated, I would think, in terms of the.
Yeah, staff generated, but generated based on the history, there are certain projects that are key to various parks and such.
Right.
That I always used to look at to make sure that they were still on there.
Yeah,
And
Well-
do I get an opportunity to
yeah.
look at that.
Well, when we bring that chapter to you, it'll include that list, so you can go through it and see if you think that we're missing something or something needs to be bumped off.
That's what I was asking. It sounded like we weren't going to review those.
Oh, no, I'm gonna bring every chapter to you. I just, I'm saying some are gonna be a lot more involved than others because of the legislation that we're trying to address. But we will look at every single chapter.
That was my question. Thank you so much. Those are very helpful.
Anytime, I welcome questions.
Okay.
Get into these items then, I guess.
So how do you want us to, I mean, because there's a number of pages here, so how do you want us to address these? I mean, do you want us to just send these to Clayton, I mean, with our comments on them, or, I mean, because to go through them, I mean, one by one, and, I mean, it's,
Yeah,
I don't know how you want us to.
I know it's kind of tough because there are so many, and I do think that after the meeting, your marked up comments should be sent to Clayton so that we can compile them and that then we don't have to go through every single comment. But if there are things in there that you feel are really miscategorized or important that you want to discuss tonight, I think that's totally appropriate.
I have a-
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Clayton, were you going to present something first before I dive into?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
I have a couple of items that I think are miscategorized.
Okay, yeah, go ahead and let me know.
Are you- This is the time to let you know that.
Yeah, we're just going through them.
Oh, yeah, I'm not going to be presenting these. I'm just hoping to gather your feedback now. We can have discussions about anything and then also send me your written comments after the meeting.
Then there are two items. These are items that are not recommended.
Okay.
Low priority. One has to do with, pursue funding to implement highest priority actions identified in the adopted hazard mitigation plan for Thurston region.
So is it number 2 in the grade?
Yes, number 2 in the gray. And the other one is related to that, which is not recommended. And that is to extend and enforce the rural burn ban when wildfire risks are high. And I could go into detail on why that is. In the event that you have a wildfire that occurs just outside the UGA, it is going to come in to the UGA. We've seen that happen before it's able to be extinguished, if it can be extinguished by that time. And to be able to evacuate as many people as we're bringing into our town, we have only 2 evacuation routes. And you have a lot of new people who don't even know those routes. So that's a concern. That's why I was concerned about these 2. The other one is we do have very low probability, hopefully, of a lahar. And at present, we do not have any notification method in the city of what people are to do with the lahar coming. Having lived in Ording for a while, I do know that city does, because they're quite aware of what happens.
The Nisqually is a lahar zone, but it shouldn't reach Yelm.
It should not reach Yelm.
Yeah, but-
It will reach,
Yeah, Ording and Tacoma, Port of Tacoma and Puyallup and
it will reach,
Buckley
it
and.
will reach
yeah.
me. It will reach a lot of about maybe 100 homes.
Can I address your burn ban comments?
Yes.
Yeah. So just to say why we put that up as a low priority, but kind of anything outside the city, we don't have the authority to enforce burn bans on. So the rural area of the county, including the UGA, is the authority of Thurston County. I think it would be totally appropriate, and what we plan to have both in the land use element and the climate element. We want to address wildfire threats. So, I mean, we plan to do that.
It's just when a wildfire starts, it doesn't recognize borders.
I know, but it's a, we don't have.
We can't enforce it.
I understand.
That's all.
Does anybody else have any? Before I start? Okay. Okay. On some of the main ones. Fortunately, the pages aren't numbered, but under the considered. Bottom of the second page, grow woody perennial crops, I. Growing woody perennial crops, I don't really agree with that one. I think that could be put on a lower priority, but if. They want to keep it on there where it mentions fruit trees, if the fruit. Could be like donated to, food insecure families or, something along that line to make it kind of a double benefit. With. To be able to hand food out, it has to be handled properly. I mean, as far as, insecticides are, being treated rather than, so I had kind of a comment on that one. There's. Under low priority, and I'm not gonna mention the specific ones, but the first one in the low priority talks about the map your neighborhood. I realize getting larger communities to do things, as far as where we're located. The big one or the, slippage of the Dithuca Plate is, kind of the largest concern. Like Ann was talking about, the lahar that, in this area that, there's certain things that, would affect us would be more potentially, like logistics or, broken, gas lines, down power lines, things like that, not necessarily, floods or, lahars, like she said, where she's at, she would be affected by it, but Yelm as a whole. So I think something like that, and maybe potentially when FEMA does the Cascadia exercises that, maybe Yelm could potentially participate or something. So at least there's an awareness of something to do that, would cover some of these actions to take. I mean, I know it's not on the environmental, but it's like the safety, with the fires that I think that, solidly with kind of backing up with Ann saying that there should be like a fire mitigation or hazard thing, because as the climate dries out, stuff like that, the potential for Yelm having some type of fire is more likely than what it's been in the past. And, so I kind of personally believe that some of these that address the fire issue should be a little more, prioritized, at least under the consider instead of the low, not relevant,
Yeah, so just a couple things on that. I mean, it's kind of making me think we might want to have a couple people come in and talk about, because there are some things that they do that I don't know what they do. Cody might know better. But we do have representatives on the Thurston County Hazard Mitigation Team that meet regularly, and it would be good to see what they're already doing. That's not to say that we can't put stuff in our own comp plan, but I know that we participate on a countywide basis in planning for various kinds of natural disasters, including fire. And we also we reached out to some representatives of DNR, because in our land use element, there's a requirement that we also address wildfire interface issues. And they have offered to come in and talk about that particular issue. So maybe we'll have them come in and just do a quick 10 or 15 minutes at the beginning of maybe even next planning commission meeting if you want.
Suggestion.
Okay.
There's our fire marshal for Thurston, our Thurston Southeast,
Or
the Southeast, or our area, Matt Russell. he might be able to come in and to discuss what are they primed and ready to do.
Yeah, I think he would probably come because he's the one that gave me the names of the DNR people, so he'd probably be at the meeting as well. Just for the record, Chris is our fire marshal.
Okay, couple other things was regarding on low priority, and I'm the reason I'm just kind of scanning these or grouping them is there's for the sake of time, since Clay's gonna get the, my sheets here, is regarding the designing the new replacement stream culverts, basically kind of talking about some of the flood mitigation. Is that one of the main things that I know of? Actually, one of the council members that brought up when we were doing the environmental portion when they were talking about the flooding. And I don't know, I think Yelm Creek is one of the bigger culprits for flooding in town, if I'm not mistaken. And I was just wondering, like, if there was any type of flood storage or anything to help kind of do a little more flood mitigation on some of those that's listed under the low priority that could be put under the consider. Because I know that there's been a few people, and that was specifically brought up during when I think it was in February when we had the
public.
yeah, when we did the open meeting. So there's a few there that regarding the flooding that I thought, should be under consider.
Just and lesson learned, we should number the roads.
Page numbers. Yes,
But
yes.
while I was looking for it, I missed a little piece of what you said. Were you talking about flooding in general, like streets and things like that?
Right, it could, if I'm not mistaken, I think Yelm Creek. I know it floods pretty consistently, and I know it has for like the 100-year flood. I mean, there's a pretty large area. And I don't know, outside of the Nisqually River, I think Yelm Creek is the one, the major culprit for doing a lot of the flooding. And I was just wondering if there was anything like any flood storage or anything to kind of help mitigate some of that. Where it's talking about, the drainage infrastructure or replacing culverts, and on a couple of it was talking about constructing flood storage. If it's something that's a little more cost effective to do versus, just, where some of the cost comparisons can be done, on some of that. But I think it should be moved from low priority to consider.
Okay.
Which is why I'm just kind of mentioning that. I think there's a lot of it that's irrelevant that can be removed. And there's some things like the on the not recommended, like Ann brought up about the recovering from the hazards. That's the second one down in the not recommended. I agree with Ann on the trpc.org hazards. The priority for adopting a hazard mitigation plan. In the area that's going to be, incorporated, that's currently the UGA. But I think that should be under a consider as well. So there's some things regarding, fire, flooding, things that's on a low priority or not recommended that should be moved to a consider. So other than that, a lot of the others I think can be removed. Some things that said that it should be listed, included in the fire police planning. Just kind of double check, make sure that those are actually included, in some of those plans that they have, so just don't take it for granted that they're there, but just double check and make sure that they are there. So But that pretty well concludes what I have. Anybody else have any comments?
We go over the strongly consider ones to make sure we're all in agreement on those.
No, on mine, I've gone through and looked at them. It's just some rewording on, sea levels and stuff. But other than that, I think,
You're in agreement?
if, yeah.
And recall that the public meeting that we had, there was a lot of emphasis on balancing the economic stability, what it's gonna do to businesses, have to either put in buildings or to do some type of flood mitigation. I think it would be wise to go through here and make sure that we're not putting something in place that's suddenly gonna cause a lot of cost to the businesses and and I haven't done this yet.
So with that being said, you have a timeline when you would like to have this input back by? I know we said that we were gonna talk about it during this meeting, but I think some of the members haven't had the opportunity to do that yet. So I mean, it is next month too late, or you want to say two weeks, or I mean, in order for some of the members to have an opportunity to make their comments on their sheets and email them to you?
Yeah, I think 2 weeks to 4 weeks, so, within that time frame of 2 weeks from now to the next planning commission meeting, that would be reasonable. My goal is to have a completed first draft of our new climate chapter element completed by the end of June. So if I could have your feedback early to mid-May, I think that would give me about a month to start putting together the chapter based on your feedback.
And so do you want to say like May 1st? I mean, that's a little over 2 weeks.
If you all feel comfortable with that time frame, if you think you'd be able to give me some comments, yeah, May 1st should be acceptable to me.
Yeah. Good enough.
I think that would be good. I'm wondering if Clayton may be able to distill which, since you've been working through all of these and the classifications of them and such, to be able to help us know which ones would have an impact on businesses having to refurbish or change current buildings that they're in and such. If there are some like that.
I want to say that very few, if any of these would have required any kind of retrofits to existing buildings. I did look for things like that when I went through and categorized these, and maybe there were a couple, but I'm pretty certain that I put those in the do not recommend categories. I was focusing on things that could be either implemented for new development relatively cost effectively, or other goals we could have, but I try not to recommend anything that would cause retrofits in particular.
Thank you. That's helpful because you've really gone through this with a fine tooth comb. That helps.
Okay, so hopefully I'll do this right here. So I'll make a motion that the commissioners update if they have the menu of measures, to update, put your comments and get it to Clayton by May 1st.
Second motion.
Okay, all in favor?
Okay.
All nay? Okay, motion carried. So we'll have all these to you then by May 1st.
Thank you.
Okay, so now we'll,
May I ask a question? How do we get them to Clayton by May 1st? You want them just hand it off, hard copy, or?
We were talking email. I think an email. So,
An email, okay.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's,
scribble notes, you might have to scan it. It just depends on what technology you're most comfortable with, but
You can transfer it to an email version.
okay, does everybody have the ability to put it in an email?
Scan and send?
Yep.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, so we're all good then. It'd just be a matter of getting your email address and
Are
so.
we going to review it again at the next meeting?
Yeah, I guess.
I think we could condense the list, and if no one had a comment on any of the, like, do not recommend, we could get rid of those.
Yeah, cause like on a lot of mine, I put remove.
Yeah, so,
Just, I mean, anything that is not relevant to Yelm.
Right.
I mean, it can be taken off.
so the plan was not to review it at the next meeting, but it will come back eventually.
Right.
We're gonna move on to housing for the next
Okay.
meeting.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
everybody will have their inputs. We'll get them to Clayton and then he'll condense it.
is
So,
the joint session meeting in addition to our next planning commission meeting next month?
Yes.
And it. They're the same day.
No.
Oh, are they?
no, shouldn't be.
It's,
We're the third Tuesday of the month, right? And that's the
Yeah.
second.
Yeah, cause the one with the city council is on the 13th. And then the next planning commission is the following week, like the 20th.
And then would you be interested for me to try to get a presentation before you, regarding the wildfire and the hazard mitigation stuff? Might help you evaluate policies in the, down the road in the climate and the land use elements.
I think yes, just because it'll provide more feedback. It's the more information you have, the better the assessment you can make off of that to help prioritize.
Yeah, I mean, if you just wanna get hold of something and send it to us, I mean, I would.
I'll start there.
I
I'll start with that.
mean, I would be interested in that.
Okay.
Okay.
that isn't in lieu of doing having the people come in or.
Yeah, well-
Send a
well-
study session.
Basically, what he's saying is that before, to help go through this, that he'll try to get hold of a presentation to send us, and then that way it'll help us determine what we want to do on this. And then if later we decide that we still want to have somebody come in, then we can do that. But at least for the time being, since this needs to be done like within 2 weeks,
Mhm.
it'll help, with the decision making. Okay, does anybody have any further discussion on menu of measures? Okay. Now I get to move on to public hearing, which is none. Do any members have any reports, subcommittee reports?
I do, I'm so sorry about this, I keep speaking up. But the trail project to take the trail across the bridge on the Nisqually River is going for bid. It's supposed to go to bid this Thursday for construction. And so that means that it's gonna happen soon. Yes. So, and once the bids are done and construction starts, we'll have a much better view of the actual end date of it. The second item you may have seen in the newspaper, the ADA, the wheelchair swing that's now in place. And there was a collaborative effort of a number of folks. They're listed in the paper, but I don't have them on the tip of my tongue. But there was the city and several organizations and one of the homeowner groups, I believe. So it was quite a nice thing. That's now it's going to be open. I don't know if there's an actual cut the ribbon date on it, but it's going to be set very soon. And the last one is that it's Labor Day. There's going to be the splash park is going to be back in operation, but it's going to be tested over the next several weeks. And so people will start to think it's open, but it's actually just in the testing process.
Memorial Day weekend.
Yes.
Nice. Okay, thank you.
I have a question about, so, as a new member, what are the subcommittees for the planning commission?
Well, let's see, John does trees,
John does trees.
then you got
We got
parks.
parks.
I think, right now, I think that's it, isn't it?
Right. But if we do subcommittees like we were talking about.
Right,
maybe
yeah,
we'll-
for the
Put it in
future, yeah. So for the future, but right now, I think it's just trees and parks, which John, who sits next to you, and then Ken does. Other opportunities should be available in the future.
This procedure one, that could have, that could
Yeah.
get into. More.
Okay, if there's nothing further, is there a motion to adjourn?
One more thing, if I may, please. Good afternoon, commissioners. For tree board, please join us on Friday, April 25th at 6 p.m. at the community center for our 29th annual Arbor Day celebration. We will have a musical performer, tree seeds that'll be given out, an art contest, so it'll be a lot of fun. So that'll be Friday, April 25th at 6 p.m. at the community center.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second,
A second.
all in favor?
Hi.
Bye.
Okay,